Lora Chatman, welcome to Empower Network TV.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Well, before we got on the air, ENTV, Laura was telling me just a little bit about herself. She said, used to be known as a silver lining solutionist. Okay, so let's start there. Who gave you that title? Why did they call you that?
Okay, so the title spawned from back when I first got started, before I even knew that I could make money out of consulting or coaching. People would come up to me with their issues, their problems in their business or in their life. A lot of times it was actors at first. And because my background is I have extensive past of being an actress. Now it's been 18 years, but people would come to me with their problems and it would always seem so bleak to them. And instantly, one of my catchphrases was, there's a silver lining to that. There's always a solution. And because it was said so often, it just kind of stuck. So I was the silver lining solutionist because I believe that every problem has an equal solution. Sometimes you just have to look in the silver lining to find it.
What is your thoughts on the perspective of the problem? So, like, if this is the problem, if I'm looking at it this way, how do you navigate someone around so they're, you know what I mean? How do you get them to do that?
Well, first they have to pull themselves out of the situation. As humans, think about it. We're the only creatures on earth that pay other people to act out dramas for us to see and live through. We like drama. And when we are in a situation, because we're so addicted to the drama and the adrenaline of being able to tell a story about something, we can get fixed on it so much that we forget, hey, you're only looking at it from your perspective. There are millions of perspectives, hence why there are millions of people, billions of people on this planet. If you pull yourself out of yourself and realize that there are more than just the way you see a situation, then it becomes a lot easier to be able to identify where you might be. I don't like to say over exaggerating because it will feel real to you, but you can also see how there is another way. If you believe you can't get out of a situation, then you won't be able to. Your mind will make you right. If you believe that there is another way, then you will find the solution. And so that's pretty much how I look at it. You just have to pull yourself out from the drama and look at it from the perspective of, well, what if there is a solution? And that what if instantly opens your mind up to being able to receive the possible outcomes.
Does our mind always try to make us right? What is that about?
Well, we create our own reality. Whether we realize it or not, we are manifesting 24/7 on default. The biggest problem for us is that we do it unintentionally. And because we do it unintentionally, we do it by default. The moment that we start looking at ourselves as creatives, as creators, then we can start taking control of our minds, or at least use more awareness with our minds so that we can see, okay, well, if I'm creating my reality by my thoughts, and my thoughts, I usually use those to dictate my actions, then if I change my thoughts, then I can change my actions. And if I notice that my actions are not getting me to where I want to be, then I have the thought power to be able to ask myself, well, what do I prefer? You get the clarity through the contrast in life. And you use your mind to be able to synthesize it and direct it.
Keep going, keep going.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in other terms, when you think about the power of the mind, we have the power of imagination. Going back to me being an actress, when you see a movie, you sometimes, even though you paid for the ticket or you turned on the TV and you know that it's a movie, at some point, if it's a good one, you get lost in it. You start to identify with the characters that you are seeing. And when you start identifying with those characters, your body sometimes will forget that it is not actually happening right now. You will jump when something crazy happens. You will cry when something sad happens. You'll get a warm feeling when, the kiss happens at the end. That's because your mind does not know the difference between reality and fiction. And so if we can take this into consideration and use the power of our imagination, then we can start visualizing the type of life that we want, the outcomes that we want before we actually get to the scenario. If we get used to the mental image in our minds, then when we see it in person, it's not going to feel foreign to us. It's going to feel normal. It's actually going to start being something we start to expect. And when you expect something, you manifest it faster. Think about it. When you order a package from Amazon, you know it's coming. You can see the tracking delivery date. Even if you don't see that, and you did Prime, you know it's probably coming in 2 days, if not sooner. So you're not worried about it. You're expecting it. It's the same thing when we visualize something, we set the intention that it's going to happen. We can expect for it to happen. And because we are expecting it, our mind will start to look for ways that it will show up in our life. We will actually start drawing in opportunities for that to happen for us. I did this not only with my husband. I wrote out a list of exactly what I wanted in a man. And I knew that this is what I was going to have. I was not going to settle for anything less. And then I stopped looking. I just expected when it was my time, it was going to happen. I spent time working on me, and bam, he came out of the blue. I met him on Twitter the second time that I actually ever used the platform, and he was a whole 2 hours away during a snowstorm. That was a freak accident. Like, there was no reason why I should have met this man, but I did because I attracted him. We got married a year later. Then I attracted a house. We knew we wanted to move from our apartment into a house. Well, we only had 1 week to find it. My husband was working full time while I was being an actress. And so I had to be the one to actually find the house with the realtor. We were searching around. It did not look good. He wanted to keep it at one price range. I said we could make it work with $200 extra. The money would come. And then lo and behold, 2 days later, we find the house. It's perfect. Everything worked out. We were not supposed to be able to get into that place as soon as we did, but we did. Because I said, we're going to find this house at the beginning of February. We only have a couple of days before we have to be out of this apartment. It's going to work. I moved us in 1 day. Bam. I did the same thing with 3 other cars. It's possible. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it be love, tangible items, or business. You can manifest what you want if you're intentional.
What is the break point that stops in your thoughts, stops people from being able to realize that? What is the break point there?
The break point is sometimes we remember our past a little too clearly. Times when we had things that we did not like happen. However, if you think back to any time that was traumatic for you, where you felt like you were a failure, in those moments, if we look at it, there was probably a seed planted in our mind, usually by someone we loved unintentionally, or someone we respected, like a teacher who might have accidentally spoke poison into us, saying something like, you're not good enough, or, you know what, you're great, but maybe you should not look into that. That's not a real job. When we adopt ideologies that limit us, we unconsciously act those out in our lives. And it hurts us the most when it goes against who we know we are. When we fail and we think that we cannot move forward, usually because we were indoctrinated by the school system, which tells us there's one right answer instead of reality, which is there are infinite right answers. And when you fail, it's not a failure. It's just a lesson of how you could do what you're trying to do in a different way to get you to think more creatively. I believe when we have these failures, it traumatizes us to the point where we think, okay, well, once we realize we are the creators of our lives, if we manifested something that we didn't like, we may think that, oh my gosh, I can't trust myself. Because when I create things I don't like. I can't control my thoughts. Oh my gosh, I'm going to create something bad. I'm going to create something bad. And then you create something bad. So then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You get stuck in an echo chamber because you're expecting your life to always be what it has been before. You're not opening it up to new opportunities, but all life is improv. We don't know what's going to happen the next second. And living in that unknown and expecting that the unknown is safe for us is going to make it easier for us to be okay with manifesting new results.
All of life is improv. You ever notice that when you start a business, by by people that have never started a business before. They're always like, well, what's your plan? But how are you going to make it work? Well, what's your runway? Like, some of those questions, let's say, have merit, but the reality is, like, you didn't know you were going to meet your husband. You knew you were going to meet someone, but you didn't know his name. You didn't know where it was coming from. You just knew it's happening. Can you talk about that? Like the certainty of knowing it's happening, whether in acting, whether in love, whether in business. What does it feel
Yes.
like when you know it's happening? What state do you enter?
I love that question. What state do I enter when I know that something that I'm calling into my life is actually happening before I actually see it manifest? Well, one, I have to get myself into the feeling of it. Before you can put a name to something, before you can put a label, a description, you have to be able to know, how are you going to feel when you get it? And that can be difficult, because if you've never had an example, a reliable, a good example of what it is that you want, it can be very difficult for you to even put a face to it, or a feeling to it. For me, in the beginning, I used to be so fearful of trying to set my goal because I thought I was thinking too small, because I was aware of the fact that I was not aware of what was truly out there and what was truly possible for me. I knew that there were bigger heights that I could reach. I just didn't know what they looked like. So I had to start seeking out people who were in the fields of what it was that I wanted to do. And then I had to look at them, not just by their success, but by their happiness, because I knew at the end of the day, I wanted to be happy. And I feel like everybody at the end of the day really wants to be happy. They want to feel good. They want to feel in control of their life. They want to feel like they have choices. And so asking yourself, what does it feel like to have freedom? What does it feel like to have choices? What would that look like? And then reverse engineering that into the business. Get the feeling first, know that you want to feel good, and then see, how can you build a business around making sure that you can feel those ways. I knew that I felt best when I could interact with people. It brought me alive. I knew naturally when I could speak to someone else and they talk about what they were doing, I get excited. And it was almost like I could pull the vision out of them and put it into tangible words. When they were just talking about the feelings of what it felt like, I could see it bubbling and building almost around them. Like I could see the vision, and then I could speak it. And so many times I would get the response that they were like, "Oh my gosh, how did you do that? You can see exactly what it is that I was trying to say. That's exactly what I meant. Thank you for putting it into words for me." And so by doing that, I realized, ooh, if I get a high from doing this and it doesn't even feel like working, I should make a business around doing that. I knew I like to talk to people. It was something that, like I said, juiced me up. So I was like, okay, well, let me see how I can make a living out of doing that. I found out you have professional speakers and consultants and coaches. They all get to talk for a living, but not just talk at people, talk with people, to be able to collaborate and co-create the future. Like, I like to see people who want to take control of their future and build it into whatever they want, because when we all do this intentionally, when we're all living in our passions intentionally and profitably, nobody feels like they're working. Therefore, everybody's happy. Therefore, you want to pay people who are happy and who don't feel like they're just doing it for the dollar more. So then everyone's more profitable, and then the world can thrive.
Okay, let's talk about your business. Let's go right there, the segue. What do
Yeah.
you do then? What do you offer people? How does it look?
Absolutely. So my business is called Legendary Focus. And that's because I believe that when we hone our innate power of intentional focus on a predetermined goal, we can create legendary results in our lives. Everybody can do it. And with that, I realized that the biggest problem most people have, other than not knowing how to focus in order to make what they want come into reality, because we get stuck on what we don't want instead of what we do want. So I help you shift that, as well as shift how you speak about yourself and how you think. I also realized a main part that is missing in today's work culture is feeling good. Feeling good about how you show up in the world, about what you do in business, and about how you show up for yourself. And so I created the program Feel Good Fame. It's a monthly masterclass that I do. I'm actually doing the next one today at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and I do it on once a month. But with that, I like to help people go through a 3-step process. I call it focused, featured, and famous. You get focused and clarity on what it is that you want to do, the goal that you want to hit. We're not looking at what someone said you should want in life. We're looking at what would make you happy, because that's what's going to really make you want to do the things in order to be successful. Then we talk about how we can get you featured for your greatness. We're not going to feature the things that you're not good at. So many times, just because you can do something, people think that they have to tell people that they'll do it because it's an easy way to make money. But if you're not passionate about it, stop telling people you do it. Let's feature you for your strengths, for the things that bring you joy. And let's actually feature you in places that are going to be beneficial, so you're not just wasting your time. Then after you get featured, let's give you a little bit of fame. Everybody is famous for something. Usually it's unintentional, but that's why we get intentional with it. And we help you be able to make a premiere around whatever you're getting featured for. A premiere around your launch, a premiere around your book signing, a premiere around your album launch, whatever it is that you're doing that you want to be known for. That is what we're going to build your premiere around, in order to make sure that you can be famous for something that juices you up, that brings you joy, for the gems in your journey instead of the pitfalls.
I love your vernacular because you're bleeding in all the entertainment industry, which I've not heard much of. So not a lot of coaches use this vernacular. So I love it. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you. That's one of the other things. It's like, I like to find people's fame factor. So that's your difference maker, and lean into that instead of trying to just be like everybody else. We all have heard, oh, you need to make sure that you, what's one that all the business people say? See, I can't even think boring like that. But how everyone has that core, you have to fit into this mold. I'm very much outside of the box. I was homeschooled, so I never conformed to something having to look a certain type of way. Like, I took creative writing as an elective and wrote a book with my sisters. I took real estate investing as an elective. I did things outside of the box that most children were not exposed to. So I learned early on that life and success doesn't have to look like one thing. It can look like literally whatever you want it to look like. So I like to make my business and everything that I do a reflection of that.
I love what you're saying, because I think it was John D. Rockefeller, or I think it was that guy that started the school system.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And went on record to say, we are not in the business of creating entrepreneurs. We're in the business of creating worker camp. We want more workers in our factory. And so a job is literally going to worker camp. And that's what they taught us in school. It's how to get rid of your dreams. You're going to be a good little boy or girl, and now you're in worker camp. It's like,
oh yeah, wake up for this time of day. Make sure you file in line. Like, if you look at the correlations between the typical day job and your typical school day, it's the same thing. And the sad part is, it's almost like prison as well. If you look at a prison and you look at a school, they're almost the same. So it's all about indoctrination and destroying individuality and making everyone standard. That's why you have standardized testing. We're not made to be individuals. We're punished if you collaborate. They call it cheating. But really, in life, you can't get ahead in life unless you collaborate, unless you learn to work with others. And that's one of the breakthroughs that I had to make early on, was that it's not about me just trying to get to the top. It's about me seeing, who can I bring with me that is in alignment with what I'm doing, where we all can win.
I love it. I love it. Well, it's what do they say? It's the it's the C students is the ones that run the world. The A students run the companies for the C owners. It's something like that. That's how it works in the traditional method. Okay, so can you drop links to anything you got after in this interview?
Absolutely.
So that people,
Absolutely.
you know what? Also, we have free networking events that you might want to be on. I invite you to check out. They're called First Date Networking Events. They're not dating events, they're networking events, but I just like to be cheeky because I got suspended lots in school. And so if you want to come and meet 12 to 15 new people, First Date Networking Events, I'll tag you after where you can book those. Anyone can book as many as they want, and they're a lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. Yes,
Yeah.
I saw that earlier and I was like, what does that mean? So I'm so thankful you explained it.
Oh man, if I have to explain it, oh man, I might be doing a marketing faux pas if I have to explain it. Hey, you're giving me something to think about. A few others told me that too, and I'm like, no, they're just networking events, but you gotta call them something. You can't just call them networking events. That's boring.
No, it's
So
boring.
it's yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to leave the audience before we wrap here today? This has been an amazing interview, Laura.
The last thoughts I suppose I would love to leave is to just remember that you were given a vision. Even if someone else does not see it, that's okay. They're not in your head. They're not meant to see it. But it is up to you to be able to paint the picture, to make it visual so that they can feel it. If you can help your people feel what it is that you see, then it doesn't matter if they get all the words right. People remember how you make them feel, not remembering what you said. So focus on feeling good, transfer that feeling to your audience, and be yourself. Because as long as you are yourself, you're not going to have to wonder what it is you should say. You will always say the right thing when you speak from your heart.
Okay, well, this was a masterclass, ENTV. If you have enjoyed this, please reach out to Lora Chatman. Let her know what you appreciated. Her links will be here shortly. Laura, what a gift you are to be here. What a gift
Thank
you
you so
are
much.
to be here. Is that even proper grammar? I don't
Who
know.
cares?
Who cares? Okay, we'll end it here. ENTV. Thanks for watching.